Hello ladies and gentlemen, One Gamer and his dog here. Today we are going to be looking at Crusader Kings 2, specifically the Game of Thrones mod for the game. So let's get a little background into this whole thing. So Crusader Kings 2 is it's a grand strategy game, specifically a dynasty simulator. It was released in 2012 by a Paradox development studio. This is a development studio that is very well known for making some really grand and complex strategy games. So if you're looking for a good strategy game, look at Paradox Development Studio. They do a lot of stuff based on real events around the world. Now, one of the things about Crusader Kings 2 is that it is an incredibly hard and complex game to play, and if you are interested in playing this, I'm going to be showing you a bit of the game now in action, because it's not a game you can just go into the single player and figure out how to play. You really do need to play the tutorial of this to kind of get an understanding of it. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to show you a bit of the gameplay footage from this. This is going to be a series that I'm going to continue on playing the Game of Thrones mod on it. And if you're interested in the game, I definitely recommend picking it up. If you look at this and go, hey, this isn't for me, yeah, just stay away from it, because this is a really weird and unique game. So a little bit more as well. So the Game of Thrones mod, it's made by a community of modders, and I've got to give a big shout out to these guys. They have been developing this for quite some years now, and they are constantly releasing new updates and patches and fixes and expanding the world around it. This really is the world and universe, I should say, of Game of Thrones. This is it to a T. They have studied them books with a fine-tooth comb and really captured every character that exists in it. Even in the stories that aren't even in the books, you know, the things that are just kind of alluded to, they go into detail on it and they really figure it out. And over the years they've expanded it from just being the sort of main continent of Game of Thrones, Essos, all the way out to Westeros as well. Now, like with the modders, Paradox Development Studio as well, they really do support Crusader Kings 2. They've released 2 really good DLC packs for it, and they are constantly upgrading and patching the game, fixing the little bugs and glitches there, but also as well bringing in some new features as well, and just generally improving the whole experience. So yeah, so just to be clear, so Crusader Kings 2 and the Game of Thrones mod is something that you will not pick up straight away. That you will really get better every time you play this game, and you'll figure it out, because the point of it is that there is no real goal to the game. You kind of set the goal yourself of what you want to accomplish in this one, and you carry on with that, because the main actual game, Crusader Kings 2, with the exception of the DLC, you only play it for about 700 years, which can last quite a long time actually. So what you tend to do is you'll kind of set yourself a goal, because it's based on real medieval Europe. You might be like, right, I'm the King of England, I want to become the ruler of Europe, which is a really hard thing to do. So yeah, you might set yourself things like that. Anything else really we need to kind of explain or say about this game? I mean, it's great, I absolutely love it. It's really messed up. If people think Grand Theft Auto has got controversy in it, you haven't seen nothing yet, because you can do some really weird and strange things in this game. Yep, I think that's pretty much it. So let's get started in this game. So this is just going to be a bit of a video where I'm going to show you a bit about the game, how it kind of works, and if you're interested as well, I'm going to carry on with this whole story. So first off, when you start the game, you get to pick one of these main campaign sections, or sort of main starting points for the series. So these are the big ones that sort of talked about in the TV show and also the books. I'm actually going to probably be referencing the TV show a lot more, because the TV show is, I think more people probably watched it than actually read the books. So one of the first campaigns you can play as, you can start in Aegon's Conquest. So this is when the Targaryens first invaded. So you can sort of play there, and you can pick one of these characters here to play, or you can go down and play some other different characters as well. Some of the lesser lords, dukes and high lords and duchies and things like that. And then you've got Robert's Rebellion. So this would have been when King Robert got rid of the Targaryens and became ruler. So this is just a couple of years before the TV show and the book actually starts. And then you've got the War of the Five Kings. The War of the Five Kings, spoilers for anyone who has not watched the show, or wants to do it, this is where sort of the kind of civil war begins between the North, the Lannisters, the Iron Islands, Stannis, and I suppose as well is the North. Who is actually the 5th king? Is it the King Beyond the Wall? Let's double check this now. I'm quite curious actually, trying to remember who the 5 kings are in the War of the 5 Kings. Let's have a look. It's just loading up. Nice little bit of text here that explains it. It's things like these guys all put in. Oh no, sorry, it'll be Daenerys Targaryen, Robb Stark, Joffrey, Stannis, Renly. Oh yeah, because I suppose he declares himself king. Baron. So yeah, these would be the 5 kings in question. But then again, you've got Daenerys, who is sort of the queen, or a queen in the conflict, even though she's not in the conflict yet. And I suppose you've got the King Beyond the Wall as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the custom game setup, just to kind of show the detail that has gone into this game. So you can, we've said before, you can do the War of the 5 Kings. Where is the War of the 5 Kings? I'm going to bring it up here. Hold on, it's not actually there. Oh no, is that it? Greyjoy Rebellion? No. So you could go through actually key points in. Is it Feast of Crows? Clash of Kings. Sorry, it's got Clash of Kings down here. So yeah, for those who are sort of familiar with the TV show and the book, you can start with, like I said before, Robert's Rebellion. Then we've got here the Crown Snag. So this is when Robert first becomes king. Not really talked about it's talked about and mentioned in the books and the show, but you don't really get to see it. And then you get the Greyjoy Rebellion. Again, this is kind of talked about in the show. This is when the Iron Islands decide that they want to rebel and get independence. And then you've got Clash of Kings, which is the main part. Yeah, this will be the War of the 5 Kings, so this is when everything kicks off. And then you've got a Feast for Crows. So this is the one that this actually comes up with warning, this scenario contains spoilers. The reason why is because this is just before the this is like sort of what the TV show was doing with series 4. So if you play from this one onwards, spoilers do pop up, and luckily enough they did actually release a little remove spoilers patch, because if you don't install that, warning now, it will tell you something massive that happens. And unfortunately I was watching the show and I decided to read the books, and I was just up to the point in the book when this big thing was going to happen, and then I was playing this and then it happened, and it kind of did ruin it a little bit for me. So yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to start. Oh sorry, just to clarify as well, yeah, so this goes all the way back as well, so the history we haven't seen in the TV show, but it is talked about in the book. So we can go back as far as the Bleeding Years, so we can play as one of the original kings of Stark. Who would be the king of Stark at the time? King of Stark, the king of the North. Would that be a Stark at the time? King Torrent of the North. So it wasn't actually. Yep, he was a Stark. So you can play one of the first Stark kings. This is actually a good time if you are interested in the game. It is a good sort of time to play it, because everything's not united, and it's about nice. It's a bit chaotic, as it were. But we are going to start as where are we going to start this? Let's start this with a Clash of Kings. Let's start this with the War of the 5 Kings. So what we've got here, we're going to start this here. So just to kind of flick through the different sort of map sections, just to kind of show you, or map views I should say. So here this kind of shows a terrain breakdown of the whole of the game, so you can play this across everything. Yeah, they really went into some detail with all of this. I mean, everyone kind of knows what the main continent looks like, but no one really knows what Westeros probably looks like. You probably know about, from the TV show about Pentos and Mer, and heard about Qarth a bit, and Tirosh and all that stuff, but you don't really know about this whole section over here. Look at this, and you can play as someone from this section. Then what we've got is the independent realms. So this shows all the independent realms that exist. So at the time of War of the 5 Kings, or the Clash of Kings scenario, all these realms have started declaring independency. So normally they're all together. If I just switch to the Crown Stag, we can see here that there is one independent realm, and that is the Iron Throne controls all this. But because we're playing in Clash of the Kings, all the new territories are in motion at the moment. So just a bit of a refresh of the story of this one, is that what's happened is that the North has rebelled, So they've all got out of here. The Riverlands have united with the North. The Vale are kind of staying out of it, so they've declared their own sort of independency, but they're not really bothered either way. The Westerlands, which is the Lannisters, they're over here. They're going to be defending the Iron Throne, but they're kind of independent at the moment. We've got the Reach over here as well. They're sort of doing independency, but they're not in conflict. We've got Stormlands over here as well, again in independency, but not really in conflict. And then Dawn as well. This may actually change, because when we start the game, it might be that Joffrey, who was in charge of the Iron Throne at the time, might end up, getting his grandfather involved, who's head of the Lannisters, and then these guys might become part of the Iron Throne again. Anyway, so that's the independent realms, and then we get the lords. So these are all the lords that currently exist in this version of the game we're playing, and again we can look over here. There's a lot of darkness over here. You'll see why in a second. But this is one of the great things that I love about this game, is that, yeah, you can play as like Daenerys or Robb, some of the big characters. But then if you really want to go for a challenge and go for something really unique, you can go, you know what? I want to play as the Lord of the Grey Glen. I want to play as Lord Ulfar of Grey Glen. Now, the lower down you go in the pecking order, the difficulty does get harder. But it doesn't really get harder as so much that not a lot happens, so it's actually kind of easier to play as one of the lowly lords first, just to kind of get to grips with how the game works. Because if you're playing as one of the sort of lords and the kings, you've got to keep a lot of people happy, which is a lot of things going on, and a lot of stuff can go wrong with this. Here you haven't really got to worry too much. Or what we could do is, here's the king's view here, so you can play as one of the kings or the paramounts for the regions. So we can select one of these guys, and you can see over here, these areas here are currently blanked out at the moment because there are no kings or regions in that area. So is the North and the Iron Throne. I think the reason why they are blanked out on the Kings and Lord Paramount is because they're in rebellion or war at the moment. I'm not too sure. And we can see the religions. Religion is a big part of this game. So these guys believe beyond the wall, the old gods. As we all know, the North believe in the old gods, and we've got down here the South believing in the myth of the Seven. Apart from this little area here, where they're down with the Red Queen. Is it the Red Queen? The R'hllor faith, with Stannis and that woman in red that he's hanging around with. And we can see here, yep, this is where Stannis is from, and that's in the religion of the Red. And we can come over here as well and see the religion breakdown. And here we have the Great Stallion religion, which is the religion of the Dothraki. And then we can see the cultures, and you can kind of see the different types of people that are in this whole world and what they own. So yeah, the Dothraki, this is the Dothraki Sea that's mentioned. It's just sort of a huge series of fields, and that's where the Dothraki hang out. And then over here we've got the Reachmen, the Rivermen, the Northmen, the Arryn, the Valemen, Stormlanders, etc, etc. So we're going to play a game of this. So who are we going to play as this time around? Oh, sorry, we've also got the High Lords as well. We can also play as the High Lord, which is quite cool. So the High Lord sort of has lords who work below him or her. So you can sort of control one of these sections here. So I think what I'm going to do is want to play as someone of note, someone who's known. I could play as Karstark, the High Lord of Carahold. He's actually in the TV show. No spoilers, but you may remember what happens to him. The only thing about playing as him is that we're in a war with the North. We're going to be in combat at the moment, so we're kind of, it's going to be a lot of military stuff going on, and military is not really a big part of this game. Wars don't really just spring up and happen. You can't just declare war on someone. You've got to have a rightful reason to declare war. So I think what we're going to do is, I've played this guy before and I do like him. We're going to play as Late in the Old, Lord Hightower. So yeah, we are going to play as these guys, because I like these guys, and my son-in-law is the Paramount of the Reach as well, which is nice and handy. Got a nice bit of terrain down here as well for us to control. So I think what we're going to set ourselves the goal for in this game is these lot over here. Was it Brightwater? Yeah, I want that land. That should be mine. I shouldn't just have this bit here, and I want this land here. So I'm going to set myself the goal of, I want to get these 3 counties to me, and we're going to expand the Hightower name. So, I'm going to get started with the game now. Let's have some fun.